I'm Jessica Mikowski, mindset coach, co-founder of Yogi Triathlete, and host of the Awake Athlete podcast. Welcome to Season 6, The Road to El Cruce. This season is a living documentary, my journey to a 3-day 100K stage race through the wild terrain of Patagonia. It's not just about endurance training, it's about exploring the mental, emotional, and spiritual edges that shape us. There's no set schedule. Episodes will drop as the layers peel back. My hope is that in hearing my story, you remember your own strength and your own path home. This is me showing up in real time, and I am all in. I'm so glad you're with me. Welcome to episode 8. Yeah, all about my comeback. I'm back. But I guess the question is always, did I ever leave? No, I didn't. It's all a part of the process. So episode 7 was talking about beyond impact, the not just taking the risk, but embracing what happens on the other side of it when things go south. And that's what happened. I fell on the trail. Actually, it's a Thursday and I'm recording this. And it was exactly 4 weeks ago that I fell on a trail. And the fall was nothing crazy, but man, it took me out. And what I had suspected and talked to you guys about in episode 7, which was, bone bruising and some soft tissue trauma, that appears to continue to be very true, that was the extent of my injuries. But it's still, as I sit here now, pressing on that little area that took the brunt of the impact, that bone is still sore and those tissues are still sore. But I am running again. The most important thing that I did was I just shut it all down in that first 24, 48, even to 72 hours. I was extremely cautious. The first 24 to 48 was all about protection, rest, ice, lymph drainage, more meditation, doing nervous system nurturing practices like yoga nidra, using my imagination to just bring beautiful healing light to the areas that were impacted from the fall. And that's massive when we have a shock trauma like I had when I fell. And that sounds so dramatic. I can't impress enough how unimpressive this fall was. It was just hard and direct. There was no crazy torquing of my body or my knee. I just went down super hard, went into a little bit of a roll, and that was that. But that impact that hit the inside of my left knee was pretty fierce and it left a mark. Also, the second place of impact was right on top of my right knee, just above the patella, right into that quad tendon. And still, that's a little bit sore. But when you have a trauma like that, I'm not talking about an overuse injury or anything like that, but something that comes on super sudden like this did, when you tend to those first 24, 48 hours, there's so much that you're setting yourself up for in those times for success or for slowing the healing. And I've experienced both. I used to do the impatient, I don't have time for this healing. That never works out well. And then I have this kind of healing where I've got the knowledge, I've got the experience, and I just really shut it down. And I think that was such a key piece of me being able to run. And today I'm going back to the scene of the crime. I'm going back out to that same exact trail. I'm going to go do that run. And that run has been for months now, my Thursday night golden hour bliss run. And so, that night that I fell and it's halted my running for 2.5 weeks, it was still my Thursday night golden hour bliss run. It was just so beautiful. It was there was a turn of events that I didn't expect. And as I explained in episode 7, it's if my coach said, hey, we're going to change your training, this is what I know is best for you. I wouldn't still be pulling workouts and trying to follow the old training plan. So that's what life does too. Sometimes life takes a curve or a left or a right, or it comes to what we feel is a halt, but it's really just life saying, hey, let's go this way. We think we know, but we don't know. Every day is the unknown, which begs a deeper conversation in this inherent fear that we have of the unknown, because we think we know, but we don't. We just don't. And presence is the medicine. Presence is just, oh man, it's such an incredible relationship to nurture, especially for athletes, as we know that present moment awareness is the essence of the psychology of peak performance in sport. So yeah, those first couple of days are super important, and how we fall off the path. So there's a mindset that says when something like this happens, like, great, I'm off my path. Like, I'm not training anymore. Like, I'm totally off the regimen. But there's another mindset that says how you fall off the path is when the path takes a right or a sudden curve and you don't go with it. You try and dig your heels in and stay on the old path the way it was supposed to be. So the sooner that we can make that shift, which is all in the mindset, and it has everything to do with surrender. And surrender is not passive. I can't stress that enough. Surrender is like one of the fiercest and most difficult things that I work with in this life. Like, it takes a lot of self-control to surrender and not fight. That doesn't mean not act. It means you are not fighting what is, but you're doing everything you can to find ease and health and growth and whatever it is that you're looking for on that path. I think I did a really good job with this recovery, but I'm back. And so those first couple of days, yeah, just shut it down, let the body do that initial part of healing. And I just, support it in the best way I can, and drink turmeric ginger tea and eat really good food and lymph drainage and all those things that I did. But then once movement starts to come back, that initial inflammation starts to go down, you get to kind of discover, well, what can I do? I'm going to pause right there because there's been 3 really big pieces of clarity, or let's just say clarity, in this last 4 weeks in this experience. Number 1, it's one thing to take the risk. It's another thing to embrace the consequences when things go south. Number 2, trust. Trust the path, trust the process, trust your body, trust your inherent ability to heal, trust the power of your mind, trust that everything's working out for you. Trust is so big in the ability not to fight, the ability to stay on the path and go with the flow of life. Because the flow of life is like not stopping. It's like not stopping for you. So you can beat against it all you want, but it's going to continue to go in the trajectory that it needs to go for your highest good. So you can go along with that or not. And that's all about trust. And that trust it starts in the mind, it starts in the mind. What are you not trusting? What are you fearing? Why are you spending time fighting what is? Who are you without the story of that? Who are you without the resistance? And the third thing is that we wait too long to come back. I've experienced this in my own life too, which is like we're waiting endlessly for this perfectly healed body before we begin to move again. And that can be a very dangerous mindset to practice, because the moment of perfect healing rarely comes, especially me, who's 2+ decades into their endurance sports life. Waiting for zero pain, zero swelling, zero doubt. It's like waiting for the mind to stop thinking before you meditate. It just doesn't happen. And in fact, movement can be the most incredible aid for all of those things, to be able to trust the body, to move the lymph through the body, to reduce the swelling, to reduce the pain, to get blood flow. And when we hold ourselves back, we wait too long. We wait for this perfect end point before we begin moving again. We stall momentum. And we also send a message to the nervous system that stillness is the only safe state. This is where it becomes really dangerous. And I have seen this with people coming back from injury or shock trauma, crashes, falls, it's a fear begins to build because they don't want to experience it again. So the most important thing is getting back into that movement again as soon as we can, safely, smart. I'm not saying go out and do something stupid, but I'm incorporating movement into the healing regimen and into the healing period is one of the most important things you can do. But this conditioning that we are capable of to condition our nervous system to say that stillness is the only safe state, it makes it harder to return because now the body associates movement with danger. And the body thrives. It thrives on intelligent movement during recovery. Circulation clears waste and brings nutrients to the tissues. Gentle loading, like it tells the bones, the fascia, the muscles, like, hey, like we still need you. You're needed here. Range of motion restores that communication between brain and body, and mindful activity. So just smart return to movement. It accelerates the healing. And the question is, what can I do? I firmly believe after a shock trauma, after a fall, after a crash, after a sudden injury, an Achilles rupture, like you need some major downtime. Those first 24 hours are so important. It's not the time to say, oh, I can do this and it hurts when I do this, because the inflammation that's in there is going to cause pain. That inflammation is going to be painful. So it's not the time. Range of motion is inherently protected by your body and its healing mechanisms during those acute phases because it is not safe to move. But once you get into that subacute, which is like 48 hours down the line, 72 hours down the line, we want to begin to say, well, what can I do? What is the pain-free movement that's going to increase circulation and lymph flow and help to remind my nervous system that movement is not only safe, but it's going to help me accelerate my healing? And that's been my experience in these past few weeks. So 3 days into the injury, I was at the pool. It hurt to walk, but I got into the water because that water, being in a contained area, actually creates compression, which helps recovery. And I walked in the shallow end and I swam with a pool buoy. And I was really sore after that, but I iced it and I rested it, right? I let it rest so that it could adapt and reintroducing that movement. And then it was about 2 weeks in, I went to the trail and I had my poles and I set up like, okay, this is the momentum. This is me. I'm a trail runner. I'm training for a trail race. I put my pack on. I loaded up my bottles. I didn't just half-ass it because I was going out to see if I could even hike. I went out there as if I was going out to do a training session, which I was doing. And I went out and I had my poles and I walked. I did a mile. I think I did a mile. And it was not painful. It was definitely like I'm not 100%, but I just felt in my gut like I'm not going to be worse for the wear here. And in fact, there was one point where the trail came to an end and I could take a left and I could go up to the top of this little hilltop or mountain, or I could go right and I could start to go back down and circle back. And in my mind, I was like, I want to like hike out an hour and hike back an hour. And at that moment, I answered the question that I've been answering for the last 19 weeks. What is the best thing for my training right now? And I took a right and I headed back to the car. And the cool thing was that when I was heading back to the car, I had these two like experiences that were in my field that were like, yes, I'm on the right path, or at least that's how I interpreted them. And the first one was watching this guy out kind of in front of me, but off, in the distance. And he was running up this gradual uphill and he was just like super light on his feet, not going a super fast pace, but just light on his feet, consistently running up. And in that moment, I was like, I remember that. I know how that feels. It was like this reacclimation, right? It was this brain body connection that was being restored. And then just a few minutes later, I was going past this pretty good size rock face. And these two guys, not at the same time, but, with enough space in between, came flying off the top of this like crazy rock face, like did this massive jump on their mountain bikes. And I felt so exhilarated. And I was like, yes, I also know how that feels. And that is also this beautiful remembrance. And I just could see that these things that were in my awareness were like, yes, you're getting out there. Like you're getting back to this. This is reflecting you. And then it was the following Monday. So that was a Thursday. It was 2 weeks after the fall. And the following Monday, I went out and I did my first run. And my first run was 2 miles, and it was 15 seconds of running and 45 seconds off of running. And it's this simple run walk return, which is so beautiful. And I think the 15:45 is such a safe space to go into movement, try out running. And you'll know, like if that 15 seconds is super painful, stop, go back to pain-free movement. But like if that 15 seconds feels good, okay, then walk the 45, do another 15, walk the 45. And I did that for 2 miles, even though I had it in my mind that I was going to go for 3. And I was like, you know what? Keep going out on top. Keep going out on top. What's the best thing for your training? Go out on top. And that was on a Monday. And I had one weekend before I was flying back east. And originally that weekend in my mind back in June was going to be a huge weekend. I was going to do like the 5 Peaks trail run hike down in Mission Hills, which is like 19 miles and like 5,600 feet of climbing or something like that. It's like really, and then I was going to ride Palomar. And so here I am. That weekend was going to be really big because then I was flying back to Cape Cod, and that was going to be like a recovery week where I could, hang out with my mom and my sister. And it was becoming really clear that that week was now going to be my return to running week. And that the weekend before was really shaping up to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to do like a pretty good weekend. Now, the weekend I thought I was going to do, no, that's on the old training plan. So this is the new path and the new training plan. And I was able to go out for our favorite Palomar ride and ride 7,000 feet of climbing. And at this point, 2.5 weeks, starting to get into 3 weeks, I'm really seeing like the last bits of healing and what's happening and like what really feels good. And I believe that shifting the mindset to what can I do as opposed to, poor me, which the other side of poor me is why not me, right? Like, why not me? I'm an endurance athlete. Like I'm putting a lot of miles and load and years and events and unknown and all of these things on my body and my mind. Like, why not me? Why am I not subject to the full experience of an adventurous, enriching life? Of course we are. And that's going to come with joy and that's going to come with some pain. And the quicker we can shift out of the why me and into the why not me and what can I do and being grateful for what we can do, we really accelerate that healing because the movement is not a threat. The disappointment is not poison to our system. All of these things that feel, so resistant, it doesn't help our healing because it's a threat. These energies are a threat to the nervous system. We want that nervous system to feel nurtured. There's one thing that I kept doing too is like range of motion was never an issue. I was able to do like full flexion through that knee. And I'm pretty flexible as doing yoga for a long time. And it's just so easy to like, for me to just kind of kiss my knees. And every single day I would just kiss my knee and be like, I love you. You're doing so good. And watching it heal and geeking out on its process. And I gave myself frostbite on both of my knees from icing so much. And it's like fully immerse yourself in whatever that curveball is, and you'll realize this really expansive, open experience that is just adding to my resolve and my resilience. And so if I look on paper and I say like, this is not the miles I expected to be at this point, but when I look at my mental state and the state of my health and my ability to recover and the fact that my knee is still sore and I'm running, biking, and swimming pain-free, I'm so, so grateful for where I am. And this realization about how we can train our nervous systems to, see movement as danger, as a threat, is a very tricky place for us to go as athletes. And it's all in our mindset about what stories are we telling? What acts are we playing out in our life? Like, what are these things that are making us fight what is, and what is keeping us from accepting what is and moving with the flow of life? And it has so much to do with trust. I definitely had those holy shit moments where I wondered, like, is there something bigger going on? If I had like a deep pain in the knee, and I just kept going back to those initial, intuitive or gut feelings. And I just kept trusting them. And I just kept telling my knees and my body, like, I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. And trusting that progress is possible, and trusting that movement is medicine, and trusting that I didn't have to wait until everything felt perfect before I started engaging again, because a bone bruise can take like 12 weeks to heal. I don't have 12 weeks to heal. So how can I be my best ally, letting go of anything that says like, oh, well, I'm moving and that's going to accelerate and I should be able to be at this point by this point, continuing to be present into that flow of life, and turning that trust into action by going out for that 15 seconds of running, 45 seconds of walking, not overdoing it, being humble, being deliberate, being mindful, and in those things, being powerful. The comeback is not about charging back in. It's about respecting the process. And that's what those first 24 hours are about, and 48 hours are about, and the sudden shifts in your life are about. It's about respecting what the reality of now is, and knowing that you're meeting your body. When we respect the process and we respect where we are, we're meeting our body, and there we can train for real and for true and in a way that is appropriate for us. So that was kind of a big download. I'm super excited to go back out to the trail today. But just to reiterate, like, these three things that have just been such a beautiful, enriching experience is: one, this mastery of embracing the consequence of your risk. Two, trust, and building that trust every day, and building that trust with your actions, and building that trust with your relationship to now. And then three, this potential danger of waiting too long to come back. So the comeback is an art. It's a finesse. It's not reckless. It's not rushed, but it's not lazy. It's not delayed. We're not waiting for some imaginary line of perfection. And yoga teaches us the middle path is the way. In between the highs and the lows and the tidal waves and the low tides, there's this middle path that allows us to experience it all without attachment. And in that non-attachment, we get the magic, we get the miracles, and we get the trust of the path. And when we have the trust of the path, the momentum stays alive, and so does our confidence, that we don't have to have these big falls. Everything doesn't have to be a super high and a super low, because if we have a super high, the low is coming, because whatever goes up comes down. So as these external things come up and come down, when we work with mindset techniques and realize that mindset matters and all dis-ease begins in the mind, we find this middle road that really allows us to keep momentum, to strengthen trust, to have confidence in a way that's just like unshakable. And El Cruce is not going to ask me to be perfect. It's going to ask me to be durable. It's going to ask me to be adaptable. It's going to ask me to be awake, wide awake. And that is what these last 4 weeks have allowed me to train and fine tune. All right, that's it. That's episode 8. Oh man, when I go back and listen to this, I hope there's some gold in here for you. I hope you take something away. Thank you so much for everyone who's left a review. I really, really appreciate that. If you haven't, just drop a few words or just like a stream of consciousness about a particular episode. It just helps other people find it. That's the biggest thing. We together as a collective we can serve our endurance community by sharing these messages. And in fact, like these messages and these teachings and these learnings and these experiences that we're all having, they transcend sport. And so if somebody in your life is just, had a left turn that they didn't expect, and they're just like clinging to the old training plan of life and how they thought it should be, maybe share this with them. Maybe it will help them. Maybe it will give them that spark to keep the momentum going, to not wait for everything to be perfect, because what the hell is that? Like, what is perfect? Life is not pain-free, but I do believe it can be suffer-free. And that has everything to do with our minds. Okay, I'll catch you for episode 9. I can't wait. Peace out, guys. This show is brought to you by Yogi Triathlete, because you were born for more than just pushing through. We've been leading the way in holistic performance since the beginning, body, mind, and spirit. So thanks for tuning in. Stay awake, stay the course, and I'll meet you back here soon.